the legislative session now is coming to an end in Albany. 9 days are left.
Yep.
So how do you feel about where your union members stand now before the session comes to an end?
Well, things are coming to the end really quickly, and we have a couple of big pieces of legislation we were hoping to move through the session, and I'm concerned that maybe they won't move. So we're going to have to do some heavy lobbying in the next few days. One is our cost-benefit analysis bill, which the Assembly's already passed, which basically just mandates that before the state's contracting out for our work, it has to demonstrate that they can get a better price than it would get by having state employees actually do that work. And so it's up to the Senate now, so we're lobbying hard there. We also have some legislation for nurses and healthcare workers, safe patient handling, safe staffing ratios in healthcare facilities, and we need both the Assembly and the Senate to pass these things.
Ken, can you just talk a little bit about the first one that you mentioned? How prevalent is that problem where the state is contracting out with private employers to do work that state workers can do? How prevalent is that issue?
Well, right now the state is spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year on outside contractors. We've been telling them this problem for at least 10 years, and they haven't done much but give us lip service at this point. In fact, often they'll try to save money by reducing the number of state workers. And when you do it in places where work needs to get done, bridges have to be inspected every year for the rest of our lives. You don't want them falling down on your head, so you got to inspect them. You have state workers that do it, that make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. You add benefits, 80, 90, 100,000 maybe. So the state lays these people off, or doesn't hire them when they retire, and they contract it out, and they're paying 150, 200,000 a year for some outside worker to do that job. It's not specialized work, it's not temporary work, it's routine, long-term work. Why would you pay double the money? Just hire a state worker and save some cash, but they seem unable to do that kind of thing. I don't know why. In IT, there's a huge number of consultants from big computer firms, and often the people working at the desk side by side with state workers are making maybe the same amount of money, but then the companies that send them here are making big profits on top of that, and the state could just save that if they just hired somebody to do the job instead of contracting with IBM or whoever else they're using. But even when you factor in, if you have a state worker's pay and their pension and their health care, and whatever it is, you put the whole package together, on average, those outside contractors that the state writes checks to are 50 to 100% more. Even with all the other benefits added in, it's still more. And most of that is the extra is profit going back to the company.
You said that the cost analysis benefit bill passed the Assembly, but you still needed to pass the Senate, correct?
That's correct.
Do you have some Republicans that are on board or see the validity of your argument?
Oh yeah, we have Republican sponsors of the bill, and they've been talking it up, and they actually did pass it a number of years ago, but one of our previous governors, it might have been Governor Pataki, had vetoed it, but I won't swear that he was the one. But we keep bringing it back, saying, different governor, maybe they'll sign it. And actually, Governor Spitzer said if it made it to his desk, he would sign it. But he was gone before we had that opportunity.
Yeah.
So we will keep trying, because it makes sense. Maybe in an era where there's plenty of money and whatever you waste, nobody's going to notice anyway, because there's always enough. Maybe it'll fly then. But in a time when there's a crunch and you got to save every penny, you can't afford just to be spending more than you need to for services. So we're trying to convince the legislature now is the time to tighten our belts and say you can only contract out when it makes fiscal sense, not just because you feel like doing it.